And also the connection, as I said, making some kind of triangle of the color that will follow the whole model. For example, the crow is in a similar shade as the X and his armrest. So it makes a circle around his face. It's a very clever way to explain. Also, if you look at the whole base, everything goes in some kind of triangles, so the eye can follow also the jewelry and similar stuff on like, and also you can see here, but on his shoulder pad as well. So its composition is very important, not only when you place the model on the base, but also when you work with colors. So it works very well, you see, and it basically goes around his face. So when you look at the model, you will have the clear focal picture of it.
First, you will notice his face, and then you will start noticing the other details. And that nose of the dwarf helps.
Yeah, hey, yeah, that's a good thing about the dwarf. You can paint a big nose and.
Can you please show us that big thing guy?
This.
No, the closer to
Yeah, the Hobbit.
Yeah, the Hobbit.
Okay. So, for example, yeah, he is like, I wanted to do him more albino. So if you can zoom on his eyes, you can see they're pinkish, purplish. And I mostly focus on this area, so the most details are hitting this direction, because on the other side is a forest, so he's walking through forest, so the only highlights are hitting there. You can also notice that this whole area is less detailed. So I didn't bother doing every single part of this side, so this one is mostly focused. Also, you can see how I left this part completely just in two tones, because I don't want shadows to be too much visible. I want only to focus on the highlights.
So seems that here you are also connecting the yellow greenish colors
Yes.
on his face, on his back.
Yes.
And on
So
his back
you can see also on his scarf there is also some yellowish. So it is very important that you can make a good balance. This model was very good because he had this backpack that you can do very dark, so his light face will really pop out.
Okay.
Can we see the backpack?
Yeah. So in this case, also about the non-metallics, I wanted to look like it's used in cooking, so it's dirty, it's very not that shiny, not that polished. So what I did is didn't do too much wide area of highlight, but just some small scratches. Also the green here that is not that visible, but it's still reflective from below, or like a bit of brown that is reflective from the rope.
You have the damaged rocks.
Yeah. No, violent. Also to add more to the story, dirty feet and stuff like that. It's very important that you connect also your model with the base. So he's walking barefoot, so he cannot have clean feet. What more? I can show you this one as well. This one have a lot of colors and very strong ones. So, but also you see that the repeatable colors, there are always some in some places that connect to each other, like this turquoise going around. and she's like very detailed model with a lot of for example, when I start working on this model, I didn't like the composition of the arms and the head. So I add this a bit triangular part on his head, on her head, this one, just to add this, because without it the model was too wide, but didn't have that kind of circular look. So sometimes I add some details on it just to help you visual better the model, to have better feeling of it. Also, what I did here with a warm shadow. So let's see this one. It's not too much detailed model, but nevertheless it's a good example of cold shadows. So in contrast with all others, here all the shadows are blue. So when I start painting this model, I add blue shadows. So you can make contrast the gold. For example, that you saw on the Goblin King or on the Angel was red, but here it goes to green to blue because I want a cold atmosphere, and all highlights are, I add a bit of yellow or very light ochre just to have like a warm light from above, and all the shadows are very cold. You see, I left some bluish parts there. You can also, if you zoom on the base, for example, sorry, you can see that I have all this ice reflective and just feeling the atmosphere, which is also a very good idea to play with contrast. Very, very warm gold in contrast with very cold base, but still there is some highlights from below that are cold. Also on his knee or on his boots, like putting some colors from the base on that. And you can see in person, the colors are much better. If you have any questions, please use.
I tried to see what brush you're using now. It's a zero really, but who is the factory?
This one.
Yes, the last one.
It's Artis Opus. They are new, not new, but maybe a year and a half. They are active.
Is it series S or M?
No,
Oh, so it's the new. It's
this
the miniature
particular
series.
one is the new one. I think it's not yet. It was Kickstarter.
It was on Kickstarter.
So it will soon. It will be available to buy at shop. But this one is also there, but not miniature series. It's just with a longer bristle.
Yeah, the difference is only in the bristle, the longness of the bristle.
So for first few layers, I prefer longer one because it can take a lot of water inside, so the paint don't dry. But when I start doing some small details, just because of the control, I use the shorter one. But still the longer ones are much better in regards that the paint doesn't dry on it. The worst thing is when you take a little bit of paint and we want to paint and it's already dry. That's the good attribute with the longer brushes.
Do you ever put black in the shadows? Straight black?
No, I don't actually use the flat black because I prefer to mix ultramarine and umber brown to get some darker shadows, but for me I don't personally like the pure black. The pure black, like carbon black, I use for the bases, so for the
Because it's very,
for the
very,
plain.
very flat, so
Very-
it doesn't attract the attention, and the pure, the rich black is with that
Yeah.
blue brown
So,
combination. You get that
for
saturation.
example,
color.
if you are
More
working
natural.
on something and you want to get more cold or more warm shadows, you can add more brown in a mixture between black and blue, or more blue. I hope you find this interesting and helpful.
I like the camera is really good, and it can show the small details that
Yeah.
are not easily
You can see all the
visible. It's like-
mistakes.
a goldfish.
Yeah.
If I can have one more question, in that demon, there are those kind of, smoke, but those bubbles down there. How did you paint them?
You're thinking.
No, the demon, angel demon.
Right, all
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah. So for example, those
you
I
focus the brush strokes.
didn't like the sculpt, how it looks on the smoke.
Okay.
So I decided to do it more like canvas painting. So I did on purpose the brush strokes just to have more character, because if it was very flat, so it was everything was very flat, and it would be strange just to paint normal smoke. So I decided to give character on it.
So I started with a dark color and where?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
go lighter and lighter. And on this case, I have both blue shadows and also on some areas even completely red. Like maybe this is you can also, if you zoom out, you can see on his belly there is here a lot of red, and it goes very well with the blue, like lightning from the lightning. It's very contrast.
We have a lot of different tones, and two colors but different tones, so variations.
So you can take a look in person also if you like, and you can scan this if you want to see our page.
If you're using Instagram, we left the code for scanning, so you can easily find the page and see also when Marco finished with Minotaur.
Yeah.
And,
In future days I will finish this guy, so you can see how it turns out in the end.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the presentation.
Thank you very much. Better light.
Nice miniature.
Thank you.